What's up, guys? Finally gonna do this thing. Gonna do a daily vlog, podcast, whatever you want to call it. You can listen to it, you can watch it, you can do both. Been thinking about it for a while. It's been a long time since we had the radio show with Gadgets on Monday nights. Also, a long time since we had the podcast. I do a podcast every Wednesday morning. We put out a podcast called Hit the Fade. Me and my buddy Brian break down the golf review from the week before, preview the week coming up, some picks. It's actually pretty good. There's a lot of facts. He's got the analytical stuff. I just kind of go with the flow and pick my golfers. We've had a pretty good run here lately. So if you're interested in golf, betting on golf, playing DraftKings, FanDuel, stuff like that, it's worth a listen. Hit the Fade podcast on Spotify. But been thinking about doing some sort of podcast. I don't really like the podcast as much as I do the YouTube video, because I feel like a lot of people like to sit at their computers and watch versus listening. But even so, you can put your earbuds in and listen without watching if that's the only thing you're able to do, maybe during work or whatever. But a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts. I want to get back into the Zoom calls. I enjoyed interviewing different people. We had some really good interviews on there. All-stars in different sports, Hall of Famers in wrestling, some local guys, Monty Lee, the head coach at Clemson, Matt Campbell, who's the head coach at Lugoff, played with the Panthers for years, one of the original Panthers, Ricky Morton, Coach Jason Brown from Last Chance U. Just a who's who of random sports people. And I enjoyed that. So I got some guys on the list. I want to get back onto that. But anyway, today, basically an introduction. We're talking about Gamecock football. Where they at right now, 5-5 going into the last two. Need one win to get bowl eligible. Got Auburn this weekend at home. Auburn's starting quarterback, Bo Nix, is out. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That guy's pretty inconsistent. He makes some good plays and then really makes some bad plays. Hopefully, South Carolina can buck up enough to slow them down and score some points, but it's been a struggle this year. I think the Florida game gave some kind of false sense of figuring it out, because last week against Missouri they didn't. And I don't really understand, after basically being with a team a year, you can't put some semblance of an offensive game plan together. It's kind of embarrassing, especially against Missouri, who's giving up bukus of points every week, and South Carolina just struggled. Couldn't block. They blitzed Jason Brown. He was on the run more often than not. Couldn't get the running game going. The defense didn't play as well as you kind of hoped coming off of that Florida game. 5-5. I guess that's good, man. Vegas had South Carolina winning 3.5 games. That was the over-under. I don't see a game that they won that they shouldn't have. I mean, they beat Eastern Illinois, which I think Dutch Fork could probably beat them. Took a field goal to beat East Carolina. Took 3 field goals to beat Troy. They beat Vanderbilt, which doesn't even really care about football. And then they beat Florida as a 20-point underdog. Then we saw last week what Florida's about, where Sanford was beating them at the halftime like 42-35. So I think it's a pretty good coaching job. I mean, they only won 5 games the last 2 seasons. They won 5 games this year. So it's a positive. You really like to win last week, get bowl eligible, and then let the chips fall where they may. It's going to be tough to beat Auburn. They're a better football team. More experience, more playmakers. Tank Bixby's a solid running back who they can get space for. So I think South Carolina probably gets beat pretty good this weekend by 17 or so. And then the Clemson game, I just don't think you put 2 bad teams on the field. I'd go with Clemson just because there's some consistency. If nothing else, their defense is going to play. So looks like 5-7. But, Lou Holtz's first year, Lou Holtz came in there on a 1-21 deal and turned it around and ended up, going to several Outback Bowls and stuff. So it can happen. You just got to get some good recruits. You got to get offensive line in there that can block. The running backs are good. Hopefully you can get some in-state talent. There's some good wide receivers in the state. There's some good defensive players in the state. They need to get a hold to and maybe steal one from Georgia, Florida, or North Carolina. and make a good program. So, whatever. I don't think there's a lot of expectations. The best thing about, I think, this season is Clemson struggled. If Clemson was 10-0 right now and on top of the world, it would sting a little more. But now, with Clemson struggling, at least Carolina fans have that. And I know that's a bad thing to say, but, there's always been that question: would you rather win or have your rivals lose? And I think in this state, a lot of times, folks rather see their rivals lose, and that's the way that is. Speaking of Clemson, struggling this year, man. Even the games they've won have looked really bad for the most part. They play Wake Forest this weekend. They could really lose that game. They come out as a 3.5-point favorite. I don't know how. Wake Forest seems to be able to go up and down the field and score. They can't really stop anybody, but Clemson hadn't shown any semblance of an offense that can score a lot of points. They did score 40 last week against UConn, but UConn lost to like James Madison. They're 1-8. They're terrible. So that is what it is. I don't know what Clemson's going to do. I'm curious to see if Clemson's going to turn into what Florida did when Tim Tebow left. You had Deshaun Watson, then Kelly Bryant, then you had Trevor Lawrence, Taj Boyd before that. You had really good quarterback play. You had Chad Morris, then you had Jeff Scott, and now you got Tony Elliott on his own. And maybe it's a combination of inexperienced player and inexperienced offensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong, he's called some good plays and they had guys open, and DJ just hadn't been able to hit him. Tayshaun come in and led him down the field, and then he got hurt. So going forward, I don't know what Clemson's going to do offensively. They got 5-star coming in. Is he going to be the quarterback? And if he is Puma Chow transfer? Does DJ transfer? And DJ's a 5-star, big time kid came in here. He don't want to sit on the bench. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do offensively from the quarterback position. And it'd be interesting to see if they can get another Trevor Lawrence. Because if all you got, is a Taj Boyd, which was a solid college quarterback, all you got is the Peach Bowl. And I don't think Clemson is in that market for the Peach Bowl anymore. They want to win 11, 12 games, go to the playoff, and play for the championship every year. I don't think they're going to be satisfied beating Texas A&M in a Sugar Bowl or something like, or a lesser bowl, a Peach Bowl, a Chick-fil-A Bowl. I just don't think Clemson fans, for some reason they forgot, it's not that many years ago that they paid to get beat in the Boise State Bowl. Anyway, make a long story short, Clemson's in a bad spot. Thankfully for Dabo, Brent Venables hadn't left. The defense is still pretty good. They'll keep him in every game. So there's that. Hopefully, they can recruit a little better offensively. Dabo's anti-transfer portal, where, he's got guys leaving left and right. They leave the transfer portal, but he won't take any in. I think he's going to have to change, just like he changed his view on paying players, he's going to have to change his view on bringing players in. They really, sometimes you got to have a left tackle, man. You really need an offensive lineman. Maybe you need a linebacker or a defensive back. I think Clemson would really help themselves if they had 2 solid, offensive linemen this year to help block, give DJ more time, and open up that running game. So we'll see. We'll see what Clemson does in the future. I'm sure they'll be all right. They recruit well. People want to go to Clemson. It's a nice place to live. It's a nice place to play. So they'll be all right. Moving on to the playoff. The rankings come out, and there's always this argument. I don't know why anybody really cares. There's still, 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season and the conference championships. Things are going to change. I really believe Georgia's the best team in the country. I believe right now Ohio State may be the second best, just because Alabama really could have lost to Florida and should have lost to LSU. And I don't know what's going on with the offense. I know the defense is in a little bit of disarray, but I figured the offense would score 40 against LSU. LSU isn't good on defense. But for some reason, it didn't work out. Alabama probably loses to Georgia and probably gets knocked out right there. So then that probably would lead Cincinnati to get in the 4th spot. I don't want to see it. I feel like Cincinnati's kind of like Hawaii was in 2008. when they played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl and got beat 41-10. They're great at the mid-major level, but hell, they've struggled in the last 3 out of 4 games. You know, they're winning by 1 possession. You know, and people say, well, 12-0 is 12-0, and that's true to a certain degree. But, you know, if you're taking 4th grade math test and I'm taking trigonometry and I aced 11 out of 12 and you ace all 12, you're not smarter than me. You're not better than me. And that's what I feel like Cincinnati's on that general, you know, math class, and versus where all these other schools who play in the Power 5 conferences get tested every week, you know, or at least 3 out of 4 weeks. They're playing formidable teams. They're not playing Tulane and Tulsa and Navy, and, you know, they keep saying a big game this week against SMU. SMU's garbage. You know, these high-powered offenses are good against like Middle Tennessee State and Memphis. They're not good against Texas A&M or you know, North Carolina State, or, you know, any of these solid Baylor, Oklahoma State. Any of these teams will beat the shit out of SMU and Houston and TCU. Any of these teams that everybody wants to act like are pretty good. Oklahoma State and Baylor, 2 solid teams that could sneak in there somehow. Oklahoma State's playing really well right now. Oklahoma sucks. I'm glad they lost this week. Get them out of there. Texas also sucks. I think we're finding out that coordinators of elite programs don't really mean you're a good coach. Sarkisian, I don't know how many jobs he's going to keep getting, but, you know, working under Pete Carroll at Southern Cal with Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer and Reggie Bush and Lindell White and Mike Williams, 3 guys on the offensive line that end up in the league. Great defense as well. 3 linebackers that end up in the league, and a couple DBs that's in the league. You know, it's not hard to coach that. But then, you know, Chance at Southern Cal blows it. Washington blows it. Now at Texas, he's garbage. You don't, no matter how far down you are, you don't lose to Kansas. You know, Kansas is a team that Coastal Carolina put on the schedule so they could beat the hell out of a Power 5 team every year. It's embarrassing. Sarkisian is obviously over his head. He doesn't know what he's doing. So, you know, Texas at some point is going to have to pay another coach to get rid of. So, you know, good for them. I hate hearing about, you know, Texas is back and all this other, you know, everything's bigger in Texas. They suck. That one fluky year where Vince Young, somehow Southern Cal loses that game. End up being good because of Mac Brown, but other than that, bump that team, man. Texas is like a 8-4 team every year, even with Ricky Williams. You know, the year he won the Heisman, they still lost 3 games. I don't really hear about Texas or Oklahoma or anybody in the Big 12, really, or anybody in the Big 10, really. You know, we heard about the Big 10, how tough they were, how they could take on the world. And Iowa somehow always has a dude, a 6'5" dude that looks like he works at the Circle K, skateboards to work every day. A quarterback who can't pass the ball. A defense that plays really well. You got a bunch of white dudes playing defense. Them in Wisconsin always got some white dudes, some bricked up white dudes. But I mean, they're not good offensively. They can't keep up. They can't score. So Iowa, you know, Michigan State's a solid team, but they're another 10-2 team. Michigan is what they are. You know, they play a bunch of tight games. They're going to lose a couple. And Penn State as well. Interested to see where James Franklin ends up, if he ends up leaving to go back to the SEC at LSU. Change the scenery. I think he's done all he can do at Penn State. You know, they always just pretty good. They always got 2 or 3 NFL guys, but they don't have a full team like they did back with Joe Pa. So it'd be interesting to see where they go from there. Like I said, Georgia, Ohio State. I guess if Oregon wins out, they get in, and then Cincinnati. Oregon and Ohio State rematch, that would be nice. Hopefully this time Thibodeau and the other defensive linemen for Oregon play at full strength. That'd be fun to watch. Ohio State, they do score 50 some games, then they struggle like they did against Nebraska. It's hard to figure. Maybe with the Ducks defense, fast-paced offense, be a good matchup. Georgia blow the doors off Cincinnati. Georgia blow the doors off of Ohio State and or Oregon, just because their defense is so good. And I like Stetson Barrett. or Stetson Bennett or whatever. I like him way better than JT Daniels. I think JT Daniels is like the 2020 version of Jay Cutler. He's a small cocksucker. He thinks he's better than he is. He's a West Coast kid. He can't beat out the mailman. I'm good with Bennett. I think they're better with Bennett. He's more mobile. JT Daniels can't move. He throws it far, but this ain't an offense full of explosive wide receivers like Southern Cal. Bennett can scramble for first downs. They run the ball well, and he can throw the deep ball as well. So Georgia's going to win this thing without a doubt. And we'll see what happens, who gets fired, who moves. If Jimbo Fisher leaves Texas A&M for LSU, if James Franklin leaves, I can't remember his name, Dave Arnado or whatever from Baylor, if he takes the job, who are the candidates? So we'll see about that. That's really all I got about on the football front. I'll tell you, I don't watch a lot of TV because sports is always on. I watch mostly, football through the season, and then basketball starts. Baseball's still going on, and then of course I watch golf 4 days a week. And then in between that, between playing golf, fishing a little bit, playing poker, whatever, my days are pretty much taken up. So I don't get caught up in the shows. I have Apple TV. I've never watched an episode of Ted Lasso. I never watched the morning show. Some of that new stuff that's on there, I should. There's only been 4 shows I've ever watched every episode of, every season of. And number 1 is The Sopranos. I really like The Sopranos for the simple reason is it wasn't so mob driven. It showed like life outside of the mob. I think the mob is garbage. I think everybody who thinks so highly of the mob doesn't realize what the mob is. The mob is like a communist government for the most part, like North Korea. You got like 6 or 7 guys who live high on the hog. Everybody else works for that government and thinks they're part of that government, but at any given time can be killed, and they never make it out. They never make anything for themselves. You watch most of these mob movies, and you'll see they're robbing parking meters and doing shady shit just to make money. Running some gambling ring, beating up people, stealing, whatever it takes to get money. So I like the lifestyle part of it, where they just living life. His wife, Edie Falco, and then his kids. You had the uncle, and then you had the nephew, and then how things work. I think it was really put together well. It wasn't all about, dirty money and shooting up people all the time. It was a intertwined life of also, being a father and a husband, and also being, in the mob. So it was a good story. Sopranos was good. Number 2 was Dexter. I really enjoyed how that guy handled his business. How he, we need a real life Dexter, man. You do things wrong, somebody gets you, puts you on the board, wraps you up, and then cuts you up and puts you out in the sea. It was always cool how he was almost getting caught. There was always twists and stories from his father, from his sister, at work, his relationships, how he was messed up in the head. For me, Dexter, I hadn't watched the newest one yet, but up until now, I've watched all the episodes, and I really enjoyed Dexter. I think that was a really well done HBO series. Both of those were HBO series. The third one is The Ranch, exile of Danny Masterson. Dak Shepard's a funny guy, a great podcast, and a good actor or whatever, but he doesn't work as well as Danny Masterson did as Rooster on The Ranch. Ashton Kutcher, Sam Elliott, that dynamic of like goofy son and stern old Western dad, it was great. Masterson was perfect in there. Dak Shepard, this whole addicted, run-off teen family thing, it's a garbage storyline. I like it for the comedic relief of it. But that being said, I watched every episode. I love Sam Elliott. I like Ashton Kutcher really well. Really good show. Netflix. I'm looking forward to the next one. Hopefully they come out with one more. I'd love to see Masterson get re-admitted, but I guess he won't because of the sexual assault charges or whatever. But The Ranch is number 3. And number 4 is Yellowstone. Now, Yellowstone is one of them fast shows where it almost makes me not like the show because so many people like it. Like, man, like dudes and women and young people, old people. It's like too much. Like, I usually don't like to be in that fad crowd, but Yellowstone's such a well-written show. You know, it's done really well. It's got the father who owns all the acreage, made a promise to his dad that he would never sell out. You know, the good son and the bad son and the crazy daughter, and then, Rip and all the cowhands, on deck, and then the Indians and the rich investors. It's just a great story. Kevin Costner does a good job of being the stern old father, with the day and night sons. The daughter Beth, she takes more licks than Cam Newton on a Sunday, man. I mean, she's always bruised and battered, always smoking a cigarette, drinking bourbon. A lot of these chicks around here, for some reason they post stuff about her being a bad bitch and all that. You couldn't handle anything like that, so don't act like you got anything in common with that. She'll fight a man, she'll cuss a woman, she does everything. It's a very intriguing character, especially from a chick who's got a British accent. She does a real good job of speaking English, our English. And, then Rip, everybody thinks he's a tough guy. Really just a pot-belly redheaded guy who's got his beard dyed and some aviator glasses and a Carhartt jacket. Supposed to be a tough guy, but he plays that role well. So that's me, man. I watch some crazy stuff. I'm really looking forward to the next Tiger King. I think it comes out this week. I know people saying you crazy or they don't watch that garbage, but for some reason, the Kardashians stayed on TV for 20 years, so y'all watching some of that garbage too. Real Housewives of every plantation around here, 10 different states. That kind of shit still on too, so obviously somebody's watching that garbage. I like the Tiger King solely just because it's a gun-wielding, blonde dyed hair, pistol-toting, cussing guy who I guess is conservative but also dates younger men and got married or something and has tigers and all these exotic animals and eats out the dumpster and crazy cast of characters he's had on this show. The one chick had her arm chewed off by a tiger, but she's still loyal. The dude who run the show talks about eating, rotten beef that they brought in for the animals because there wasn't nothing to eat. Wow, man. It's pretty intriguing to me, the Carol Baskin thing. I know it sounds dumb, man, but, we all got the dumb shit we watch, and that's mine. But anyway, that's the first episode. A little bit of football, a little bit of pop culture, a little bit of TV shows in there. We'll try to do something new every day. So give it a look, give it a listen, like it. Give me a comment on what you want to talk about. Major League Baseball MVP awards come out tomorrow. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about why is it so late. Baseball's been over for weeks now. The Braves have signed Freddie Freeman to an extension. Had to. This era's Dale Murphy, the Chipper Jones, did that. Basketball starting up. Got some controversy going on at Duke. South Carolina only won like 6 games last year. We'll see if they can go 500 this year with Frank Martin. He talks a good game. He hadn't really put it on the court in the last 4 years, so we'll see about that. Lady Gamecocks, I guess, are number 1 in the country. Maybe we'll mention that, and then whatever else pops up. The NBA is going on as well. So every day it's gonna be something new. I think it'll be more entertaining. There'll be food and pop culture, entertainment, sports. More than some of this babbling stuff that you probably listen to every day. It'd be more unique and more opinionated, all of my own. None of this garbage that's copied from a Cowherd or a Dan Patrick or something like that. Maybe more of a Pat McAfee minus Aaron Rodgers. So appreciate you watching. This is what we're going to do. daily podcast, 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. Maybe an emergency podcast on the weekend if need be. But give it a look, give it a listen. Let me know what you think.